What's up everybody and welcome back to the Brawhammer channel. Today we are coming at you with an article, not drama, hopefully not, by Dr Milan Milanović. Hopefully I've said that right. It might have it at the end, but we'll work with it. If I've said that right, you gotta like the video. Yeah, today we're going to look through this article because it kind of harps on something that I felt, and I kind of mentioned in my last video, about developers, specifically game developers, not liking gamers. And I think that's for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think game developers are professionals, just like any other developer. You're there to do a job at the end of the day. If you're working at a sanitation company building embedded systems to make sure that garbage is disposed of correctly, I don't think it's a requirement that you're that passionate about recycling, garbage collection, or the incineration process. If you like things going on fire, then there's that. But I think for the most part, a lot of jobs you can understand that you're there to do a job. You're there to be professional. You're there to code things the way they should be. I think sometimes that can infiltrate artistic companies a lot more than the other ones do. If you hate your job and you work in garbage disposal, that hate might lead to more fires starting, which might lead to more garbage being disposed of. But when as you do that in a game, it tends to lead to a crappy artistic outcome, right? The worst that sort of happens in the other system is you kind of just make bad code, which is the world these days anyway. So we're going to read through. You don't have to sit here and read with me. I'll try and put timestamps down below to certain key points and certain chapters so we can sort of go through. But I'm doing my own research today, just again, it's kind of a research today, looking at what's happening in the sort of tech sector and what's happening in dev. So brought you guys along with me. You can sort of see my reaction to this, and we'll just jump into it. So today's issue, we're discussing a few trends and industry reports from this year. So 2024 Stack Overflow, I've not read that yet, so that'll be interesting to see what the sort of metrics are from that. ThoughtWorks Technology Radar Volume 30, Software Architecture InfoQ Trends, the most demanding front-end frameworks in 2023. Right, that's interesting. The state of JavaScript in 2023. So key insights from all reports: JavaScript 60%, HTML, CSS, Python remain the most used programming language among developers. So HTML, CSS. Obviously from this we can sort of go by the ease of entry. So JavaScript is an incredibly easy language to sort of pick up and just run with. You can run it in the browser and you can get results back pretty much instantaneously. I first started using jQuery, really, JavaScript, to just make little elements change and things like that. It was very easy to do compared to what you got to do sort of back-end system-wise with PHP. That's not to say that you can use JavaScript for the back-end. Have I ever done that though? I've always been a little bit too scared to use JavaScript in the back-end because I have it ingrained in my brain to not do anything back-end focused in JavaScript because it's a client-facing language that I always use it for. You never trust anything that comes from the client. I come at it from a sort of security conscious point of view. That's nothing to do with JavaScript. That's just my teaching and my education. I've stuck with back-end languages mostly because that's just what I use. HTML, CSS, I wouldn't really count that as a programming language, right? I mean, it's in the name. HTML is hypertext markup language. It's not a programming language. It's designers, I guess. It's a design language. Could you say that? I'll go along with it though. Python at 51%. That's probably obvious because a lot of universities and whatever else teach Python as their first sort of scripting language. I don't necessarily think they have courses these days on PowerShell or Bash. I think that's kind of went by the wayside. Most people just run all the sort of tools and scripts through Python, and the AI world and machine learning world is crazy on Python. Same with statistics and whatever else. We use it to run all of our metrics through, so yeah, it's a good language. It can do a lot. It can even do web development. It's got a back-end framework called Django, I think it is. Python has emerged as the most desired language, which is interesting. Desired. So you need Python developers. I wouldn't have thought that, honestly. Indicating a shift in developer preferences. Oh, that's developers that won't actually use Python. That's interesting to me because I hate Python. I hate the Python syntax. The whole having to indent at a certain point. That is Python, right? You have to indent at a certain point and the way the functions look and stuff like that. I tried to use Django to create just a mini website, as you usually do. And it wasn't a good experience. I wasn't a fan of it. And I tried to come at these things from What if I'm not a developer of that framework, and I'm not, like, I can use pretty much any language that I pick up. I've used C# in the past, for example. I've used Rust as well to build websites, and that was fine. But I just couldn't really get to grips with it. That's probably because I never really tried hard enough. Rust continues to be highly regarded. It is. It's all. We're fucking 5 minutes in and we've not even passed the first paragraph. Rust is highly regarded, and a lot of that seems to come from a misunderstanding regarding how memory safe it actually is. Because you can do some quite wild, unsafe things in Rust. It's just more guardrailed. And if developers love to do anything, it's take off the guardrails. Why is this thing not working? Just do it this way. Well, you shouldn't be doing it that way. You should be trying to figure out the core issues to why it doesn't work in the first place. 83% adoration rate among users to wish use again. Yeah, I would say it's probably about right. Impact of AI tools in development. That was me, by the way, that made that noise. 76% of developers are using or planning to use AI tools, with 81% acknowledging that these tools enhance productivity. They do. Despite this, they don't have to responsibility if AI could outperform them in solving complex tasks. Developers primarily use AI tools for code writing, while many are still cautious about its role in testing. Yeah, so one of the problems I've had with AI tools is if I'm writing a script, or it always tends to be quite inefficient about the code it gives out. It's not, if it's been in a project for too long, it tends to learn about all the bad things that I've done, which I've told it to optimize. So if I build an entity a certain kind of way, it will now try and build every entity that way and assume every entity has a created at date when sometimes they don't. Every entity has an is deleted flag when sometimes don't. Sometimes they have an is deleted at time because our framework for building entities changed from one to the other. So we used booleans in that one, and now we use date timestamps in this one. And it doesn't understand that. It doesn't understand that these things change. It doesn't understand time, I don't think. Which is where it kind of falls down quite a lot, and probably why people have some issues with it. AI code writing, yeah, like, it can only write code that has been written before, and if I've had quite a bit of a problem with Apex charts and getting that to load things out correctly the way I want it to, but all it does is just repeat the documents back to me, the documentation. And I read docs before I implement things. If I can't find it in here, the AI usually can't find it either, unless someone's written about it in Stack Overflow. High job dissatisfaction among developers. So this is the interesting point. Approximately 80% of developers express dissatisfaction with their jobs. 1/3 actively hating their work. Many report feeling pressured to meet unrealistic deadlines, leading to burnout, good salaries, flexible working options, stress of tech debt, complex tech stack. 80% of devs expressing dissatisfaction with their jobs. That is extremely high. And I know why, and I think everybody else knows why. The developer space is at the minute, I think, flooded with people like me, who are at, and again, this is anecdotal, alright, this is just my experience, you're here for my experience and my takes, who were told as a young lad that you'll be the next Bill Gates. You'll grow up and be the next guy that's building all these computer systems and launching spaceships, right? Even though Linux, I think, is on spaceships. I'm joking, alright? NASA probably uses this. So one somewhere. Anyway, it doesn't matter. And I think you're now probably at a point where you're building technology and stuff for things that you probably don't care about. Every single developer, when they join a role, is asked, "Oh, you're passionate about this, that, and whatever else." Who says they're not, right? We're all out here trying to make rent and put food on the table. If I have to get passionate about vehicle infotainment systems, when all I care about really is just using CarPlay, you know what? I'm going to be the best goddamn enthused person about car and infotainment systems. Develop software which recognises the bounce back from sound on walls. Guess what? I'm really passionate about sound design. This is the problem, I think, in this space, which is a highly creative and passionate space, with just kind of hiring people that you ask, are you passionate about it? Of course they're going to say that. And then they're not really going to like the work because it's development stuff. But it's easy to kind of fake all this stuff and just kind of trundle out code, which is good. If you're good at coding, you can probably do pretty much any job, but you're not going to be satisfied with the work that you're producing, especially in such a creative field. You're doing code reviews where someone else now has input over your code and you're now arguing about how something should be implemented. You're probably just going to, especially if you're a junior, give way to whatever their perspective is on it. How many times have you had a senior tell you to do something a certain way, and you go, well, fuck you, why didn't you just do it in the first place? Or they effectively write out entirely how you should do it, how this thing should be done, and when they could have just submitted that as a change instead of making you go through and do it all as well. It's tiresome, honestly. It can lead to this sort of dissatisfaction, I think. There's a lot to it, I think, and we'll just read through it and sort of keep going. Unrealistic deadlines. I think everyone in the world probably has that problem. Every development studio that I've been in has sort of said, we need to get this feature done. We just need to. Like, there's no other option. There's no, oh well, could we like push it back by a week or whatever? A nuclear war will happen. Boots on the ground. You have every single office jargon word that you can imagine of used in software development. It's a horrible place. And it's always just rubbish. You know what I mean? Like, we all know that any their things always tend to get pushed back, but we don't get the same thing afforded to us. Burnout is classic because, again, you're trying to reach those deadlines, you're burning yourself out, working weekends, trying to get things done, and then you do it, and you don't get any compensation for that. You don't get paid anymore, and the minute Monday comes around and you go, I did that thing over the weekend, I got it done, you now have a fresh batch of work to do, instantly the same day. Especially in the trend of software being throwaway and forgettable, all that work that you've done 4 years pouring your heart and soul into a project, just for it to get sold to another company and then destroyed and deleted. It seems extremely pointless. All those nuclear wars you're fighting definitely don't feel as if they're very, very important now, do they? Good salaries is dependent, and in America they are good. And again, it depends on where you are. In the UK they aren't. You can range in a PHP developer from 28 grand a year to about 60 top. If you're going senior, then you can obviously do about 75, 80, and if you're doing management positions, you're probably about 80 and up. But again, that's depending. You can be a software engineering manager on about 40k in the UK. Quite easily. It depends entirely on the position and where you are. It's wild out there. Tech debt. That's one thing I've seen come up in interviews, and I think you guys need to hear this quite straightforward, right? The amount of you that are scared of old projects and not working on greenfield is absurd. I have had me talking to recruiters and just simply saying the words, I don't mind if I work on old projects or new, lands me an interview. The amount of developers that will be sitting there rushing through job applications, and then someone comes to them and says, oh, you'll be working on a PHP application from 2017, and they turn it down. And it's like, I mean, it's nice to have options, I guess, and I guess if you've been headhunted, then fair enough, go for it. But it's wild that my experience is a lot of people just pass on jobs that's old code. It's like old code. It's still PHP 7, it's still fine. It's still alright. You can refactor it. I love refactoring stuff. It's fine. Complex tech stacks contribute significantly to their unhappiness. Of course, this always depends on the project, but yeah, a lot of people are insane when it comes to their tech stack and how they do things. We had an auth service and a database service which was serverless, but you had to keep them up all the time because people needed access to them, so it felt like, why were we making them serverless? And then we had to do some complex stuff around that as well. I still don't quite understand the approach we did for that, but if it works, I guess. I don't know. Learning trends on developers. Most developers are learning to code through online resources, with tech documentation tutorials being the most favoured methods. Makes sense. This trend highlights a shift from traditional education pathways. I'm self-taught myself. Everything I learned is through the tutelage of a Canadian developer that I was talking to at the time, and my own sort of going through things myself and figuring things out. I built applications that I wanted to use and then thought about everything else afterwards, and it turned out pretty good. I started on Laravel 4, and I've worked on all Laravel versions to now. I now use Symfony exclusively, and front-end develop using Vue.js, just because I wanted a nice reactive UI. There wasn't any other reason for it. I wasn't doing it for a job, I wasn't doing it for this or that. I learned it because I wanted to make a good product for me to use. And I think if you're doing that, you enjoy your job a lot more. But I understand that not everyone can have that experience, obviously. The latest reports indicate a growing interest in cell-based architecture, which enhances performance and cost savings by favouring services within the same availability zone. Additionally, privacy engineering is shifting from reactive compliance to proactive data security, reflecting a broader trend towards prioritising user data protection and software design. What does this mean? So, the latest reports indicate a growing interest in cell-based architecture. We're talking about the PS3. What's this here? What is cell-based architecture? AWS documentation. Cell-based architecture comes from the concept of bulkhead in a ship, where a vertical partition, so a vertical partition will survey the ship's interior and self-contained watertight components. Okay, I get that. On a ship, the bulkheads ensure that a hull breach is contained within one section of the ship, and complex systems of pilots often replicate to allow fault isolation. So what, is this just like nodes, effectively? So a typical workload, rather than reading about ships, to make it clearer, in the following diagram we have a typical application divided into 3 layers. In this context, the application will be 7 requests from 100% of the clients. In the event of a failure or change in applications, 100% of the clients will be impacted. Yes, this is your standard LAMP stack. You have your application load balancer, it goes to ECS, which goes to storage, okay? In a cell architecture, you have, rather than build out services as single image systems, we propose a different operation. Break your services down into cells and build thin layers to which I have to write cell. Why would you have an application load balancer if you only have one ECS, or is that just standard? Because I'm trying to convert this into, like, if I have an EC2 instance or something like that, then why would you need a load balancer? Because the load balancer routes traffic to all your different EC2 instances, right? Or is that just not how it works? That might just not be how any of that works. I'm just talking absolute gibberish. Let's take architecture. So what is your cell router? So AWS Cloud, control plane, cell router. Oh, we're using words now. What the hell is a control plane? Do we have? Oh wait. So it's the thinnest possible layer. The responsible of routing requests to the right cell only cell. Yeah, but I would use an application load balancer for that. That would be my right. So your router. I'm trying to think of terms, right? So Vue.js has a router. Is that what that is? I know you can't really see that just now. My camera's kind of in the way. Let's pop me up here. A cell is a complete workload of everything needed to operate independently. So if I have my application, I mean, this might not even like hit on Rust or PHP. I have no idea what this is referring to. I assume it is because ECS is Elastic Container System or something like that, right? So an ECS could contain your PHP application, whatever else. Storage is your S3 or your RDS, right? And you have each cell. So each cell would have its own storage, its own S3, its own ECS, its own... Wow, that's kind of crazy. This is what they're talking about in terms of complex tech stacks, though, right? Like, this is a complex tech stack right here. I have an application right now that I'm supporting, which has a good number of clients on it, decent number of requests come through, in the thousands. It's good. It's profitable. Why would I build it like this? We're talking like this is a system that, if this probably makes sense for, I don't know, Xbox game services or something like that. Does it make sense for my application where if it went down, it's not the end of the world? If I put out an update, it's not the end of the world? I think we need to start calming down when it comes to this. This is a great approach, but probably not for developers like me. I think even at my heyday in like one of the multinationals I was working in, I don't think you would have needed something like this. We had a system that went down for, I think, roughly around 12 or 13 hours because the routing table on AWS got wiped out and we didn't have a backup of it. So we had to work with AWS support to get them to restore it, which took a while to get them actually on the phone and get them fixing things. I know that sounds like absolute rubbish these days, but that's genuinely what happened. And we couldn't get routing restored for our application, so it literally went down for everybody. And our clients were mad, obviously, but they just sent everyone home for a free day off, and we went back up the next day. We lost a ton of client data in terms of things that should have been coming through to us. We didn't lose any customers through it or anything like that. Remember when Facebook went down for like 24 hours not that long ago? I bet nothing happened as a return of that. It's obviously important, but I think this is probably harping on why people are getting quite unhappy about the stress of the tech debt and stats, the stack and stuff like that. I think it can be quite daunting whenever you have something like this, especially maintaining it. It's nice when it's up and operational, and you have everything running this way and it's bulletproof almost. But I mean, I've had systems running on one DigitalOcean box for years that cost nothing. You have to kind of prove that it's worth the investment when you're doing stuff like that, I guess. But I don't know, it's interesting. I've never heard of cell-based architecture before. It's probably do a video on its own, but hey, we'll figure it out. As performance and cost savings by favouring services within the same availability. Cost savings with all that? But you had just one before, so how was having 3 the same cost? Building a cell-based architecture doesn't necessarily mean having double or triple more your application's framework. It might mean that your application has 30 hosts, and in a cell-based architecture it has the same 30 hosts. So what is hosts? So is that like a client? So if I have 30 clients, you just split them up. That sounds like it would have the same cost. I think this is maybe for an application which is built with ECS perhaps, or some sort of serverless workload. The workload is partitioned by a partition key. The key needs to align to the green of the service, or the natural way the service workload can be subdivided with minimal cross-cell interactions. This partition key is a customer ID, resource ID. Next topic, why use a cell-based architecture? Scale out over scale up. Yeah, because the problem is that scaling up for a lot of people just means increasing the database size, not necessarily subdividing it and putting different systems in different places and putting a sort of link in between the two. Low scope of impact. I feel like this is a bit iffy. So talk to me about this, right? The typical workload here shows it being offline. So the only thing that would stop this is if the application load balancer goes offline. So I'm thinking I have an ELB, right? Elastic load balancer. Is that the difference here? And that goes between multiple different EC2 entities. If one of them breaks because I put the wrong version software on it, all customers get diverted over to the next one. But that's not cell based, is it? It fulfills the same job though. The only way that system breaks is if all my instances break or my ELB goes down. And that's a possibility. My ELB could go down. But my ELB going down is quite insane. That's Amazon saying you need another elastic load balancer. They can't facilitate that, I guess. When scaling up, you can reach the resource limits of a particular service instance or AWS account. Right, we're talking about an instance where I'm not ever going to be maxing out an AWS account in its entirety. So I'm just interested in what they have, like when to use it, implementing. So what is a cell router? Client cell router, cell mapping, unhealthy, healthy. Using Route 53. So Route 53 is a highly dynamic. You can use Route 53 to cell router. It does DNS routing, yeah, because it offers. Is that all this is? Cell router is just availability zones. All we're talking about here is just different. So in my Route 53, alright, so that'll have has a record in it, right? A sort of CNAME record that goes towards my elastic load balancer. So any request goes towards that. So all this is talking about is just having it fail over to a different ELB. Right? Am I misreading that? If I'm misreading it, let me know in the comments. I don't want to sit here and go into cell-based architecture when we are not even 1% through the article and nearly 30 minutes in, but that's what I'm kind of getting at on this, and I could just be ignorant. So we'll skip over all that just now. React, Angular, and Vue are front-end frameworks most wanted by job offers. Regarding the job demand, these frameworks per country. React dominates most countries. Still, European countries such as Switzerland, more opportunities for Angular than React. Yeah, what I'm gonna do. I think Angular is kind of on its last legs. I don't think it's coming back anytime soon. Is do a comparison between React and Vue, because whenever I look at people doing React code on Twitter, it looks terrible. I don't understand how people use it. Whenever I pull up a Vue application, it makes sense. You have your template, you have your div, and inside that div is all your normal HTML code, and at the bottom is your script tags, and that's where all your Vue code is. And then if you want to change anything, you can manipulate divs with VIFs and VDatas and whatever else. That to me makes sense, and is how I've always done sort of like script development, HTML from jQuery and whatever else. jQuery was done the same way. If you wanted to change div, you had to grab the div ID and change the internals in it. React doesn't seem to be built that way. It seems absolutely mind-boggling, but maybe it's one of those things where once you start using it, you can't stop. And people swear by it. When I was working for an old company, we used Vue exclusively when I was there, and then when I left, they switched immediately to React, which is, it's a card of confidence, that, isn't it? So developer survey, right? 2024 Stack Overflow developer survey. We're getting into it now. All right, this is going to be a 2-hour long video, isn't it? Last week, Stack Overflow listed results of annual survey on coding technologies and tools developers use and want to learn artificial intelligence, workplace experience. 65,000 programs to 185 countries. That's big. So you've already been over this. JavaScript, HTML, CSS, Python, top languages. So yeah, they're up there. So yeah, and markup languages. Yeah. So it's just the article that's calling HTML a programming language. It's talking about programming scripting and markup languages. That's the actual question. So where's PHP on this? PHP is at 18%. There we go. That is at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So it's 11th place. I feel like that's went up. TypeScript being there at like 1, 2, 3, 4, being there at 5th is quite insane to me. But that's probably because it's quite easy to go from JavaScript to TypeScript, just a type system, innit? SQL up there, because why not? I feel like if you removed SQL and HTML CSS, yeah, you would get PHP in the top 10. That's not bad. Java's still sitting at 30%. What on one Java application in the past, it used that Tomcat to get the sort of server up and running. Awful system. Awful. About 10 years ago, remember. Java, C#, love about C#, C++, C, PHP, PowerShell. Alright. What's the worst one in here? Zephyr, Nim, Crystal, COBOL. COBOL loves making an appearance. Zig at the 1.1, that's pretty cool. I see Primogen using that quite a bit. And he talks about it a lot. Embedded technology, 3% of developers in there. Yeah, it's a crazy, like, I ain't be a crazy good space to get into, but the jobs are like gold dust in there. Yeah, Raspberry Pi in at top, Arduino, GNU, GCC, CMake, yeah, okay. Databases, PostgreSQL was top. Should I use Postgre? Is that how you say it, PostgreSQL? MySQL, that's what I use. I've never used I have used MS SQL Server, but I hated every minute of it. Interesting. AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, most popular cloud. Yeah, AWS in the top, that's what I use. I've tried to use Azure. I feel like the interface is so clunky. It's the same as AWS. Everything performs the same. It's just clunky. And Google Cloud, I don't trust. So Google never have any faith in any products ever. Cloudflare, and at 15. That's quite good. I use Cloudflare for some stuff. They don't have like the offerings that AWS has though. So I've seen Vercel come up a lot. I'm backing a project called Moonbeam, and that uses Vercel. Whenever you try and go into the pre-alpha website, which they've not very easily, yeah, it's got the Vercel login page, which is interesting. DigitalOcean, Heroku, yeah, see all these. Hetzner. Tried to use a Hetzner VPS instance once, and the SSH on it was terribly slow. Node.js and React, most popular web frameworks. Node.js still up there. React. Is Vue in this section, I wonder? Oh, is it just below ASP.NET Core? God, we're struggling, boys. We're below ASP. We're below Angular as well. I think Express is now defunct. Jesus Christ. Alright. WordPress at 11%. Big shout out for the PHP. Django as well. Django, the one I was mentioning before, that's in at 12. Laravel at 8. What's Symfony? 3.2. I feel like Laravel and Symfony should be the same, surely. Laravel's built on top of Symfony, for the most part. In the section on other frameworks, .NET is the winner. Microsoft has pushed hard on .NET. Yeah, wow. Other frameworks. Yeah. Good on them. Could at 5.5. 5.8. 5.5. 5.8. Coders are learning using School. We've already been over that. Online resources, tech docs, Stack Overflow, blogs, how-to videos. That's good. If I start doing how-to videos, I know you guys will watch it. That's very good. Blogs and written tutorials. My blog has no people looking at it whatsoever, so I don't believe this. Salary and experience, yeah, that sounds about right. Where's PHP? Somewhere down here, right? Yeah, just under 50 grand. Sounds about right. Yeah, C sharp and at 65. C sharp is a lot higher than PHP. It's sad. It's very sad. Complete this quickly. I'm not missing out on stuff here, have I? Most developers do not hold the people management position reporting at least a yearly income loss. Wow. That'll be from the big firings, sort of layoffs over the past year or two, and then people having to take a job that's less than what they made before. The money's drying up in the industry, I'm afraid. The investment just doesn't seem to be there. And it's weird because I see recruiters saying it is, but I've not seen the same, honestly. It used to be, if I was in a job around a year or two, I'd get, recruiters reaching out trying to sort of take me over to their team, but I've not had that this year. Developers are often pressured to complete tasks quickly to earn as much as possible. That's interesting. It's not contractors then, is it? It could be contractors doing that. Erlang's the top. While they're on top, Elixir's built on Erlang virtual machine. 1980s for telecommunication. Okay. Old tech, basically. 76% people plan to use AI. It'll be over that. AI tools could be better. Yeah, nearly 45% say it should be better. Feels like an AI's written this, honestly. AI and development workload. Writing code, 82%. Satisfied at current job. Happy at work. Not happy, yeah. So, according to my workplace satisfaction results, as many as 80% of professional programs are unhappy. 1 in 3 actively hates their job, while almost half survive in survival mode. That leaves only 20% claim to be somewhat happy. That is insane. That is a problem, honestly. I think a lot of studios need to be really careful about what it is they're saying and what it is that they're doing, because that is absolutely insane. You can't really have a workforce that hates their job or is only there for survival. You need to be there because you're passionate, and I think that's why a lot of especially game studios are struggling to make good stuff, because people are just there for a job, man. Honestly. Especially when studios burn through game developers like they're going out of fashion. They just rinse through people because gaming is a passion and it's always something that everyone likes. I think if you're, especially like, I can only speak on this as a guy, but if you've ever been involved with any sort of computer, if you've ever turned one on or turned one off, then you'll be called the next like Bill Gates, or it'll say that, or you'll be a hacker when you grow up or something like that. If you guess the password to someone's account, that's it. You're gonna be black hat or white hat or whatever else. Like it's and it can leave you feeling quite unhappy when you eventually get into the field and what you're graced with is writing software for things that don't matter. Tech debt issues. So 60% of developers I'm in tech deck issue, which is twice as many as the set of the third most annoying issues of developers. Complicated tech stacks. Can't really see this whole result, can we? No. 60% an annoying amount of tech debt. Complexity for tech stack. For backend, I guess that is. Reliability of tools and systems. That's interesting. That'd be PHP Storm crashing on the weekly, probably. It actually doesn't. It's quite solid for me. Tracking my work, common frustrations. Well, this is a common frustration because if we're talking about this for a minute, if you're wanting to develop something, a tool, a feature, whatever, there's a good chance you have a Jira board with things on there that you need to go back to the product manager with, to the comments and whatever else, and that just takes up time. It breaks you out of coding. There's integrations into PHP Storm, but they're not good. There's not really a good suite for all that sort of stuff, and I think JetBrains trying to do a good job with space. But yeah, they didn't really get anywhere with it, which is quite sad. patching, updating core components, and software tools in use. Yeah. Showing my contributions is a common frustration. Well, it is, because what happens is you write all the code, you squish it down into one little thing, then some other guy merges it in. That's not how it works, obviously. But yeah, like I can kind of get that. I think a lot of people have to carry a lot of baggage as well when it comes to some of their colleagues, which can be quite frustrating. Maintaining software security, that is a big one. Yeah, I would see that as being quite annoying. The amount of companies that I join and you can just raw dog access IDs of things that you shouldn't be able to access as a customer on your portal. You just try it. Like, if you have one of those bits of kit, you know, that's developed by an agency or whatever else, and you have like an ID for a record that you access, try and change a digit to like 1 behind or 1 forward, or 1,000 behind or 1,000 forward, and see if you should have access to it. It's a good chance you won't, but they don't have security around it. There's another article about how to deal with tech debt. Maybe we'll look at that one later on. That was a year ago. Another important negative issue is developer life is hustle culture. The industry is heavily pressured to meet deadlines, and developers are often under pressure to complete tasks as quickly as possible. Yeah, that's fair. List expectations and burnout. Many administrative tasks, such as meetings and unrealistic expectations from management, contribute to dissatisfaction. 68% of developers like to code outside of work as a hobby. Now, that's interesting to me. I think that's higher than what I thought it would be. And I'll tell you why. For a long time, I thought that kind of near all developers professionally in some aspect were just people doing a job. But if you're doing it for a hobby, then you can't really be. You must be quite passionate. Doing open source projects. I don't code outside of work as 11%, so it's a small number. They just all seem to work for me. Joking, obviously. Foremost Technology Radar Volume 30. Alright, so that's us for the developer service. So that was pretty cool, actually. That's very insightful. Again, guys, link in the comments below if you want to read through this. I don't think it's very fair to just sort of read through word for word and not give this guy any clicks, so please do check it out down below. I know how it can be writing articles and then nobody viewing them, but at least I'm viewing it, so maybe this guy gets a lot of views. I'm not entirely too sure yet. But it's cool. Really do appreciate it. Foremost Technology Radar Volume 30. And this latest Technology Radar was by Foxbox with soft difference immersion. Openish source licenses. A third of many open source licensed software become overnight commercial once, mostly in the AI space. As it's not a problem to pay, the problem is widely used tools suddenly put behind the paywall. Is this around Redis, perhaps? That's interesting. So you can have an open source license, but then they get taken commercially, basically. So yeah, if I had a project like whatever, and then it went, yeah, I can see how that'd be quite frustrating. But you can fork the project before it changed its license, right? That is possible. Third of many open source licensed softwares become overnight commercial ones. That is crazy, isn't it? That is absolutely bonkers. That's big. AI assisted software development teams. As they've already written about, AI tools like Copilot, Codium AI, Aid, and others, they believe that the pragmatic use of AI and derived tools can gradually benefit all aspects of software development. Yet some of these tools can introduce new software quality and security risks. Yeah, because they're sitting there just letting them code and not actually giving them any like nurturing or watching them or whatever, really. Yeah, like, I think if you have pull requests and stuff like that, it's generally fine, and it's smaller bits of work. If you're loading up 50 different features into an application, doing half of them with AI, and then getting your senior to check it, not going to get checked, and a lot of things are going to squeeze by like a for each loop that should not be a for each loop, that just takes up resources. Or if you're using Symfony and you're using the hydrator on a database report that you shouldn't be doing, which I want to try and have a video for that coming soon, because there's some interesting stuff around that. Engineering architecture patterns for LLMs. Particular design patterns are beginning to emerge in response to the increased use of large language models to serve everyday contexts. They discussed NEMO guardrails, which allows developers to build governance policies around LLM usage. and tools such as line fuse, which allow observability leading into LLM output. Interesting, okay. So is that what? Some kind of format that it comes out with? Nemo guardrails. That was me, not you. Don't worry about it. Nemo guardrails. Nemo guardrails is an open source toolkit for easily adding programmable guardrails to LLM-based conversational systems. Oh, okay. So is this like, don't do this, blah blah blah. That's pretty cool. Protecting against LLM vulnerabilities. Well, that's interesting. So if you have, if you have an LLM chat application, yeah, okay, I get it. You can jailbreak out and stuff like that, and this makes sure that that doesn't happen. Haha. Oh, people are gonna hate that. You used to be able to get free AI by just using someone else's chat. Oh well, fair enough. Dragging PRs closer to proper CI. Many teams still don't know the CI part of CI/CD, continuous integration. Okay, because they are in situations where PRs are a must to alleviate the pains of the PR process. They analyze some tools such as Gitstream and some other techniques such as stacked diffs. Alright, what's Gitstream? Give me it. Linear B platform, Gitstream. Pull request automation platform for platform engineers. There's a lot of P's in this, and my mic's probably gone mental about it. Unblocked code reviews. Gitstream is a free workflow automation tool that uses YAML. I fucking hate YAML. To standardize merge practices via policy as code to reduce bottlenecks in the code review process, enabling you to boost dev efficiency by decreasing cycle time by 66%, enforce higher code quality and adherence to SOC 2 compliance, alleviate developer toil while facilitate a culture of continuous improvement. I honestly don't know what this is actually doing yet. It's not quite for me. PRs process, dev hours saved, reviewers auto assigned. Is that the numbers we're going by? How many people get auto assigned? Is that is the sort of stats that I use to sort of pad out these parts of my website. I've got 6,000 cups of tea drank. I don't really get this. Policy is code with this bottlenecks in the code review. Read the docs. Alright. Auto merge PRs. Not all PRs need extensive review policies that loop in multiple experts. Is this for teams that require PRs? Why wouldn't you require the PR if you want to bring something into master or production? Am I just being stupid? Do people not do that? Everyone has a develop branch as far as I'm aware, but if you're just merging stuff into develop and then a new dev comes off of that and branches off of it, and now has your changes, but then you need to roll back your changes, his branch is now fucked, is it not? Lets you merge safe changes, small fixes, and PRs from trusted teams. So like CrowdStrike then, you're just merging a PR because the guys are alright. I'm joking obviously, but I don't think that's how that worked anyway, but what do you mean trusted teams? What, humans can't make mistakes? Interesting. Small fixes and safe changes. Small fixes and safe changes are the devil. You think you're just making a little change to a little parameter to here, there, and everywhere. Oh, I'm just making this thing optional. And then this function from 4 years ago breaks and disintegrates. And maybe it gets... Honestly, I'm just being a dick, obviously. But it probably already covers off this, and it probably checks all this sort of stuff for you. But, it's interesting that we automate things like this, which... They're a barrier for a reason. They're a barrier for a very good reason. What I've always wondered with platforms like this, with this question, dragging PRs closer to proper CI, maybe I need to look up the definition of CI/CD, but if your platform doesn't have a developer, like, why would you need it to be merged? If we're in a situation where developers have developed something and put in a PR and they need it merged to do the next thing, something's not gone right there in the product sort of design phase of the timeline of what everything's getting merged in. So if they don't have something else to work on in the meantime, something's failed there. If they need that merged before they can even continue working, something's gone wrong. And if something else isn't finished in time for that to get merged in, and you can't wait, again, something's gone wrong. It feels like something's gone wrong in the product phase of this, and we're trying to punish PRs for it. I mean, I get it. I get why you would want to try and speed up that process, and there's probably reasons to have this, and I'm just being a bit dim at the minute because I've been reading through this document now for nearly 50 minutes. But yeah, I don't really get that. It's an interesting tool, obviously. I'd probably need to see it in action for what that would probably solve, and maybe I need to look through this platform a little bit more and come back on it. So code experts, build code expertise. So it says here, code experts Wade and Jacob. Esther has most activity in these files. Jacob has the most knowledge in these files. So activity is based on a git commit. Oh, right, okay. So what it will do is the bot will tell you who is most likely to know more about this and probably add them to it. That's interesting, actually. That's really interesting. So that's a really good use, actually. That's really good. GitHub should be doing that. Identify high-risk code. This PR touches sensitive code and off and requires a review. So it does. It's actually quite smart. So all of my dicking about is actually not required. It does. It's got labels on things. It could take longer to do this. A 1-minute review. Yeah. I like it. Forget what I've said then. I like it. They also shared recently some macro trends in the tech industry. Online developer tools are becoming more widely available. Yeah, like online IDEs. Is that the kind of thing that they're talking about here? Developers are growing considerably what to give up when they use them, primarily their data. That is a problem. I think the bigger problem is how horrible the move is to online tools in general. Like the whole Microsoft suite, I think at this point is just a web application, and it sucks to use. And of course, data is a big one because, hey, if the product's free, you're the product, or something like that. Monoliths rise again. While microservices have increased interest in more complex architectures such as event-driven architectures, whose flexibility is worth the complexity, a strong trend is returning to modular monoliths. Hey! As someone that is a massive proponent of monoliths, where it makes sense, I think front end should be separated from back end. One thing I've done is rather than using Laravel's inertia, I build views separately. That way, I can just work on that outside of the actual back-end application needing to be online, which is good. It means that you can actually work on a lot of the offline features, which nobody seems to bother with. You can make web applications offline if you keep a lot of the things cached and local, and you then convert it to a mobile app, which is pretty cool. There's a big part of the space that people don't pay enough attention to. But yeah, I believe quite strongly in monoliths. I don't think it makes much sense for a lot of applications to have a separately spun out X service that converts someone's name from having special characters in it to not. Like, can we just be sensible, please? Rethinking infrastructure as code. Oh, I've hated infrastructure as code for a bit. Although IAC has been around for some time, the approach to managing exists such a Wingland, which is a high level, not more abstract. Oh man. More abstract. How do you say abstractations? Abstractations. I think abstracting everything is going to be the death of developers, honestly. Because let's think about this, right? Infrastructure as code. Am I being silly when I go and like? Has anybody ever done infrastructure as code and then not checked to see if it was doing the right thing? Because I could never trust it to ever develop or produce the correct thing that it should be putting out there. And I think for my use case of having really simple applications, it probably doesn't make much sense. Anything I've been able to do where it has 100,000 requests coming in a day, or 1 million requests coming in a day, or 2 million requests, has all been done through ELBs, EC2 instances that are quite beefy in a big enough RDS instance. The most you ever have to do with any of that is upgrade with them or add a new instance to it, or build a read replica, all of which I think is nicer with the expertise of a proper sysadmin, and you can usually get those if you have an IT department anyway. IT departments thinking they can just work on Active Directory all day rather than being involved in your applications hosting and server appliances, I think it's quite silly. You should utilize your IT department and have them doing more things like that. I think the whole DevOps thing is quite scary. People that have, and again, this is personal opinions and stuff that are coming out here now. I think DevOps is quite scary, mainly because you're giving people that haven't been involved in networking or server infrastructure complete access over all those components, even when they don't necessarily know what they should be doing. So if you have like a really standard, I don't know, like Node application being built on an operating system that it really doesn't have to be, it's been bloated beyond all knowledge. I think there's ways that proper IT and proper sysadmins can pull that stuff back and make it more reasonable. I think there's a team there that could be used, and I don't really see that being utilised very well in DevOps. Maybe that's just my own experience, Let me know in the comments how yours is. Maybe I'm just being a little bit biased there. Rust everywhere. No offense to my DevOps bros. I love you guys. You fixed all my Docker issues and you get all my local development stuff working perfectly fine. You guys are awesome. Security issues are causing many problems in the industry, and memory safety plays a significant role in dealing with those issues. Using a memory safe programming language such as Rust can prevent them. It's also highly performant. It is highly performant, and I think you're right around the memory safety, but I think I'm also right in saying that you can be unsafe with it. By default, I think it's pretty hard to be, but developers love messing things up, so I don't know how long that'll last. I think the more something becomes, the more niche something is, and the more small it is, it's hard for those stories to come out just now about how Rust was the cause of this, when C++ at the minute is used for everything. So, for the most part, any scary stories coming out just now are going to be because of that. More people are just using it, We have a wheel here of things. What that means. Techniques. Radar. Okay. I don't necessarily know what any of this means. Adopt. Oh, they want to adopt RAG. RAG is interesting, but it doesn't really work right at the minute when I've been testing it. Trial, automatic generate, backstage, entity descriptors. Alright. Like to adopt Conan, Kino, Carpenter. I'm going to Google Carpenter just because it sounds cool. Just-in-time nodes for any Kubernetes cluster. Okay, I've never used Kubernetes before. I have no idea what any of that's about. Conan the Barbarian. Excellent. Love it. Let's adopt Conan. Kino. Kubernetes again. Okay, everyone's using Kubernetes except me. I get it. That's fine. ARM in the cloud. I would love to try ARM in the cloud, actually. 100%. Trial Pulamari. See what this is. Infrastructure as code. Alright, great, fantastic. I just had a rant about how I hate it, and now it's coming to bite me in the ass. Next report. Don't worry, guys. I love infrastructure. And the cloud. Yeah, why not? InfoQ trend report, April 2024. I think we're nearly coming to the end, so we'll just sort of fly through. Cell-based architecture, talked about that. Privacy engineering, yeah, like reactive approach. The innovation moves from a reactive approach, so yeah, customer phones you up and it's like, why is my data being stolen? And then you fix it. You are actually trying to be more proactive about what you're doing and why. So, for example, a proactive approach would be one of our clients for forever has been sending us mobile numbers for their customers, but we don't need them because they don't use our SMS services. The proactive approach would be reaching out to them and going, by the way, let's clear all that down, take out all those mobile numbers. That way, if we have a database leak, then you don't need to have them in there. DoorDash, the prime example, it intentionally conceals or deletes personal information, including addresses, once the delivery has been made. It's interesting how that works, because then you'd have to put in the address every single time. But my understanding is if you use Apple Pay, the address goes along anyway, so why should you have their address on Just Eat or anything else? It's a good policy. 100% I agree with that. As somebody that's been involved in compliance and everything else, definitely. Social technical architecture. There are several ideas here. One aspect concerns the roles of architects, where architecture is a team sport and anyone can make architectural decisions. Interesting. I don't disagree with it. I think everyone should be involved in the process. I'm surprised that isn't the case. Also, one guy comes along, just builds out the whole system. I think that's why I've been scared of architect positions, because I think that's what people expect, but I don't agree with that philosophy at all. Platform architecture, many businesses provide tools to create platforms or assist with platform engineering, which indicates that technology has crossed the threshold and becoming more widely used. That makes sense. On the other hand, significant innovation occurs at the next where platform engineering influences architecture and design decision. And architectural notions influence platform engineering. In a close connection, the platform change to accommodate new architectures, where architecture is influenced by what is accessible. I think that just makes sense, yeah. Data-driven architecture. The data within the system influences many design choices. Yeah, so if you have a big MySQL database and it's full of binary blobs of images, you're not doing things right, are you? Can be challenging spots. Distinct patterns that are broadly applicable. The data-driven architecture category embodies the transition of sophisticated analytical platforms from auxiliary, peripheral components to essential elements of transactional systems. Yeah, she was very fueled by the recent AI and machine learning stuff. Near real-time data of machine learning models, event analysis, influence other systemic behaviours. Fair enough. Don't really get that, but okay. I'll go with it. Data-driven architecture. Probably has nothing to do with the example I raised, but fair enough. I'll read over that again and see if I understand it. Maybe. We'll see. Innovators, cell-based, yep. Early adopters, platform, yep. Majority low code / no code, that's interesting. Yeah, low code, no code. Don't know. So this is the one that I'm most interested in because it's going to show if my option of using Vue for the most part has been a good choice. So 2023, recently dev job scanners shared which front-end frameworks were in greater demand and which were the best paid by analysing job offers. 500,000 job offers from the 1st of November 2022 to the 31st of December 2024, which is not possible because it's not December 2024 yet. I am not a time traveller, and neither are they, so it must be 2023. LinkedIn, Glassdoor, Dice, all the sort of big heavy hitters in the job market. I don't know if it looks at things like Reed, which is a big one in the UK here, but hey ho. Here are the results. React is in most demand with 225,000 job offers. That's quite a lot. Angular is in second place, 172,000. See you people building Angular systems and then leaving the jobs. You're ruining everything for everyone. Vue's in third place with 48,000 offers. Okay, so Vue's fucked, basically, is what everyone's telling me. Is this... Do they have one from last year? Is it grown at all? Compared to 2022, Vue was also at... Oh. No, is that still the same? Oh. So, let's see. All others had less than 7.2k. Svelte, Jaw, wow. Okay. Less. So all of them had less than 7.2k. Wow. So is Vue going up? That's the big thing I need to know. If you look at trends during this period, Angular and React were quite close to each other, month by month. If we compare it to 2022, where Angular was less in demand than React in 2023, they come closer. I feel like that's the same. Angular's in second place, 172k. 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 Okay, this just seems like the same thing, but in a bar. 48,000, 48,000. Yeah. Let's look at the article they studied. Dev job scanner. I don't think it's showing the right graph there. With 50% choose React, yeah, 11% choose Vue. So how has it changed? They've all just kind of stayed still, other than Angular dropping. Angular dropped a lot, Vue has just stayed plateauing. React is just kind of bouncing all over the place. Because my biggest concern with React was that it hadn't had an update in so long, and I think they released a new version. So some things are changing there, which is good for it. Obviously, you don't need new versions to keep software, sort of going, but it's kind of nice to have. You can have minor versions, I guess, but it's good to have updates and that sort of thing, and new features coming to it. I feel like that's a no-brainer, I guess. We can observe that Angular and React are quite close to each other. Alright, here we go. So this is in 2022. So this is 2021, 2022, and Vue was it 64,000 jobs. Views went down. Went down in the job market, but so is React, to be fair. So is this a case of all jobs are just being less? Like there's less jobs this time around than there was any other time? It sounds that way because React has went down near 100k. Over 100k React has went down by. In terms of what it's... Wow. So who's the big Vue countries? The big Vue countries is obviously the US is a React because Facebook's in the US. India quite high because I think their front end devs are more than the back end devs. I feel like, so they use React, I guess, to sort of build the systems with that. I guess. France is a big Angular country. France, what the hell are you doing? Spain. Belgium, big on Vue. Big up the Belgians. Same with China. China is one of the biggest, even though they use 50% React. Again, because American business and that sort of stuff. Same with like India, I guess. Yeah, same sort of percentage breakdown as well. But they use more Angular, American systems, I guess, and they use more Vue. Chinese systems, superior, of course. Japan, big up as well. That's crazy. Japan is a country which is quite known for being quite tech backwards. Is one of the least on Angular, one of the most on Vue. Of course, it's still big on React, but not by much. Norway, where's the UK? Do we even meet this metric? United Kingdom, 10% Vue. Well, I was one of them. All right, I am one of them. 63% React. There is a lot of React developers here, to be fair. I don't really know why. Which front-end framework has more junior versus senior lead? Oh, okay. Senior React, obviously big up there. Senior Angular, I think you're all seniors at this point. Sorry, Angular bros. Lead architect, senior Vue. Surprised by the senior Vue because I think if you're using it at this point, you're senior Vue people are people still in Vue 2. That's what that is. That's what that's going to be. Junior Vue 355. Those are the people in Vue 3 because none of the fucking packages I want to use are on Vue 3. It's a joke. Which of the frameworks the highest paying? Vue, not much. Yeah, I thought that. Okay, why do I use all the technology which is the least paid? Why is this happening to me? I need to become just a C++ Rust developer and just make a front-end framework in Rust, it seems. Call it, what should I call it? I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll move away from divs. We'll make our own browser. We'll have our own markup language. We'll do everything in Rust. Perfect. Fucking perfect. Alright, well that's quite insightful. I'm sorry I missed the article, but you didn't actually have the things in now. So state of JavaScript in 2023. So we all love JavaScript, obviously. It makes things go funny on our browsers. It is the language of animators. A few months ago, the results from 2023 were examined, new trends and topics were published. The poll funded by Google, that's how you know it's going to be interesting. And other partners run from November 22 to 2023, November 22nd, 2023 to December 2023. Okay, it was less than a month it ran for. Why are things just so weird? Why not just have it run for like, I don't know, 2023 state of JavaScript? That's why you did it in November. Am I just being silly? Do all reports run for 20 days? I don't know. The most adopted JavaScript syntax feature is nullish coalescing, followed by dynamic imports. What are dynamic imports? What is nullish coalescing? Hold on. Dynamic import. I have a feeling that I already do that. With Vue.js, you can have dynamic components which dynamically import certain Vue files, and it's all part of like a const that you can have. So, for example, I can have a const which is front end template and have it dynamically pull in different branded templates that I have built for different organizations, and you can have that work perfectly fine. If that's not what dynamic importing is, then I'm sorry, but that is a feature in Vue, so you should all use Vue. Nullish coalescing, I have no idea what coalescing means. I think I have a little bit. Oh, is that this little thing? I have that as well. This is just raw JavaScript then, basically. Knowledge coalescing assignment. Jesus Christ. Okay, so these are all just things that are probably already in the front-end frameworks then. They just want in core JavaScript, basically. Am I wrong on that? Hashbang grammar. What the fuck is hashbang grammar? Error.cause? None? They don't want any features? Oh, Jesus Christ, JavaScript guys, man. There's a reason you get this reputation. Front-end framework ratios over time. I think my opinion is the core language should remain quite bloat-free, so it remains quite speedy and quite light and quite agile. And you should have to import a lot of these things as you sort of work through stuff. So, in PHP, for example, MySQL isn't like part of it. It's a extension that can be loaded in. Same with MB string. Same with GD. Same with other sort of like file info and whatever else. Like, these things aren't really part of it unless you import it in. And I think one of the problems with JavaScript is it doesn't have that ability. Everything has to have the same runtime effectively, if I'm not wrong on that. So all browsers have to have effectively the same JavaScript version, otherwise someone can build a website for one that won't work on the other. And you can't really have dynamic imports in JavaScript, not in this sense, but in the sense of it has PHP. You can have a INI file that you can modify. You can't do that in a browser, so yeah. Oh well. 84% of respondents, React leads the front-end dev category. It's bought and paid for by Mark Zuckerberg, that's why. It's followed by Vue.js, Angular, and Svelte. Okay, well at least Vue.js is above Angular in this survey. Vite, a local operated modern server for modern developers to win modern prizes. It is excellent. Vite is insane. We were using Webpack a while ago, and no joke, took about 11 minutes for the initial build to run, and every dev build after that was a good minute before it was actually finished. And in Vite, it was instant. I don't know what it was that changed, but that alone made me switch to it straight away. The winner among meta frameworks is Next.js. I was going to try and use Nuxt for one of my test applications of server-side rendering. That's why I was going to use it. Static website development for React-based apps. Oh, interesting. Is that what next? What do I use? Nuxt. I think I use Nuxt and it has a Vue in it. Something like that. I don't actually know. Although they're becoming more popular, newcomers like Remix, Asho, and SvelteKit only account for somewhat less than 20% of respondents when it comes to usage. Interesting. No tool being used by 4% mono repo tools, PPM, Brush. Okay. Yeah, whatever. Express is the most used option for those utilizing JavaScript in the backend. That's interesting. I thought Express was defunct. Node.js Express. Initial release 2010. Maybe it isn't then. Express 5.0. Alright, hold on. When was the last release of this? Express. It's got a GitHub, doesn't it? Should have a GitHub. 2 weeks ago. Oh, okay, I'm talking rubbish then. The latest release was March 25th. I don't know where I read then that Express was not recommended. App listed on that. Install Express. Why was I being told not to use Express? This is the thing I hate, when opinionated people on Twitter say you shouldn't use Express when it's still being released. Why wouldn't you use it? I'd still recommend using it. I think Cake PHP is still around. Is it still around? Version 5 is coming out, so where is the GitHub? They have an issues page. Did they have a code page? Should do it. Last release yesterday. Release candidate 2 for Cake PHP 5.1. I would never say don't use Cake PHP. It still is being maintained. It still gets updated. If it works for you, then use it. If it works for your business, then use it. Hiring might be an issue. But you don't say don't use something. It's a bit rude, I think. Anyway, so Express, whatever. Express, good. Nest, Fastify. Excellent, good for you. JavaScript runtimes, Node.js, browser. Is that a trick question? Oh, because you have Bun. Oh, because you have Bun. And service workers. Service workers for the offline stuff, right? So that's your mobile apps and stuff like that. At least that's what I've used service workers for, so don't worry if I'm completely talking nonsense there. I don't actually know. Python is mainly used to get JavaScript, similar to the back-end side, followed by PHP. Hey, PHP! Second top back-end language. Why is Python on the back-end side? Who's using Python? Show yourself. TypeScript is rising. Okay. I'm going to be honest. If I joined a company and they're like, yeah, we have JavaScript on the front end, which does all of our, nice things and whatever else, and then we send an API request to a Python server. Am I being a bit languageist there? Is that a bit rude of me? It feels a bit rude, but I don't take it back. TypeScript is rising. That's good. I just use JavaScript and just have types. I don't bother with TypeScript because it just shouts at me. Not for things that I can stop, unfortunately. When you import certain packages or you do certain things in that language, it doesn't like it. That is ignorance and my unwilling to change talking there. I don't think it's worth it, unfortunately. But that's me. This was good. I don't know if I can like this. Can I like this? I need to subscribe. Okay, let me subscribe. I've just listed all my emails there. Oh, contact. There you go. There we go. I'll subscribe and I'll like his post. That's cool. Well, guys, this has been pretty much over an hour long. I think this has been an absolutely fantastic article. Big shout out to Dr Milan Milanović. Feel free to discuss down below your comments on anything in here. I should have timestamps to absolutely everything in the description. If that's not there, please let me know. Make sure to like, comment and subscribe if you like more things like this. I'm trying out a lot of things with this channel, whether that's reacting to internet-based tech, YouTube or drama, whether that's reacting to articles like this to see if you like me going through it and sharing with you my anecdotal thoughts on it or my experiences with certain technology. I think that can be quite useful, and I think as a group, as a community, we can look at these things and go, you know what, maybe I will go and try react with a project to see how it is, if this is all shaping up to be the way it is. Maybe I should go and see what the JavaScript feature of null coalescing actually means. If we can go through, educate each other and be a lot more insightful, I think that's all worth it. But let me know, if you like it, you like it, if you don't, you don't. But great article by Milan Milanović. Sorry, it's going to be quite hard for me to keep pronouncing that. Even though one of your graphs is a little bit dodgy, alright, but I won't blame you for that. But yeah, big article, a lot of stuff we got for today. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.